Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to yet another fantastic day of SparkFest. My name's Tash Jamison, and I'm the UNSW Founders Global Founders Program Manager. This afternoon, we're talking all about angel investments. And this is why we've put together this fun little chat today with two of our favorite people from the UNSW Founders Network, Brendan Hill and Martin Karafillis, to talk about the actual experience of what it's like to be both an angel investor and a founder themselves, and how the dynamics between this relationship works. So, a little bit about our speakers today. Martin Karafillis is the co-founder and chief operating officer of Toledo, which is an Aussie tech startup that creates AI software which recognizes products without barcodes. So Martin's got a long list of accolades, but he was recognized as one of Forbes 30 under 30 at last year, and also last year was awarded StartCon's Australasia Startup Entrepreneur of the Year. So Brendan Hill himself, hi Brendan, welcome on. He is an entrepreneur, an angel investor, and also a growth marketer who loves all things startups, tech, and mainly loves his golden retrievers. Brendan started angel investing after his own e-commerce startup, B-Store, was acquired in 2016. And in a similar way, Brendan also has his own list of accolades. He was recognized at StartCon last year as Educator of the Year for Startups. So welcome, both of you. And as you can probably guess from the premise of this talk, Brendan's actually an angel investor in Toledo, which is why we're here. So we're going to have a kind of quite a frank conversation around how we navigate these relationships and what this kind of looks like from the inside. So Brendan, maybe we can start off by telling us a little bit about how you first met Martin and were introduced to Toledo as a company. And when was the first time that you realized that they would make a great investment?
Yeah, so I first met Martin. He was actually pitching at a UNSW founders event. And I guess the thing that really struck me at the time, never really heard of Toledo at the time, it was definitely the inevitability of success that he was pitching with. They were based at UNSW founders at the time. They had a small team, but, they were really, really articulating their global vision from a really early stage. They had, a few customers in the pipeline, but they're really talking about, really taking over the world with their, their vision of computer vision and artificial intelligence. So it was really that inevitability of success that wanted me to, find out more about this company.
That's awesome. And was there a particular moment when you started to kind of uncover more about Toledo? When was the moment where you're like, yes, this is worth me putting my money behind? Was there a particular fact that you found out, or was it more this general goodwill and feeling that you had from that early stage? And as you learned more about the company, you were confirmed in that assumption?
I think it's really important for angel investors to start the relationship with potential portfolio companies as early as possible. So I was in a great position. I got to know the guys through the UNSW Founders Program. And, I got to know them over, 6 to 12 months. One of the best things about the Toledo team is that, a strong track record of execution. So when you're investing in early stage technology companies, there's not that many signals that you can go on. Revenue might be low. They might not have too many customers. But what was really impressive about the team is they always delivered on what they said they were going to do. They kept signing up, they kept growing their staff and, going to different events with the guys, just seeing the way that they sort of interacted with their staff and the culture that they were creating. It definitely became something that was, really infectious, and you wanted to become a part of it. And it was super exciting because, you could see that, these three founders were really, instilling their view of the future and, building exactly what they said they were going to do. So it was super impressive from an angel investor standpoint. And, I definitely wanted to be involved.
That's awesome. And Martin, what was that experience like for you? When did you meet Brendan? And when did you realize, hey, this guy's actually going to become part of our journey and become part of our kind of broader team as an advisor and an angel investor?
Yeah, I think for us, we were lucky enough to build that relationship over a period of time. Like Brendan said, over a 3-6 month period where we did get to know each other. We were attending different events. We could throw around a few ideas and talk about our business and hear the ideas and what Brendan's been doing in the space. Brendan's in my eyes, one of the greatest angel investors here in Australia, and what he's doing out there in the startup space, we saw that straight away, and we really liked the energy that was coming across. You can sort of see that with different types of companies and portfolio companies, and the references that you have when you talk about Brendan. So for us, that process was pretty quick and pretty easy once we got underway.
And could you talk a little bit about that as well? Because we hear so much about the side of an angel doing due diligence on a startup, right? But did you do any due diligence on Brendan himself before committing to the investment?
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly one thing for us as startups is we will always do a reference check from the employees to investors to even customers. So it's a phase that we go through, and it's not necessarily a one-off thing. It's over a period of time where you can, like I said, you'll be talking to other startups in this space. You'll be talking to people just like at UNSW, which are connected to Brendan, and you can start to get some feedback and start to see the key attributes that someone like Brendan can bring to your business.
Yeah, totally. Brendan, earlier you mentioned about how when you were first getting to know Toledo, you would, go out to different events and meet the team, the three founders, right? So obviously, we know Martin, you are here as COO, but we also have Marcel as CEO and Christopher as CTO. Brendan, do you do a lot of work getting to know them as well, especially given that Toledo is an international company and often the founders are in different spots?
Yeah, so it was interesting with Toledo. They have a Munich, New York, and Sydney office, so always had room at the same time, pre-COVID times. So I mean, attending their Friday sort of staff drinks, you can really sort of get an idea of that sort of conscious culture that they were building, and they had to tell their staff to go home, and that's always a good sign when the staff's that dedicated. And I remember after one event, they had a demo. There was a small error in the software demo, and after the event finished at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, all the engineers were back on their computers trying to rectify this small problem. And when the staff are that passionate about the project, like Toledo, you're definitely onto a winner.
That's awesome. Martin, what do you think is one of the kind of the best skills or like superhuman attributes that Brendan brings as an advisor to Toledo? Where has he really helped you guys improve?
Yeah, I think Brendan's like, he's the hype guy before a rapper comes onto stage. Brendan's the guy that actually makes us look good, if I'm honest. The ability to, like Brendan said, come to a Friday drinks and be able to talk with the staff and actually be able to give advice and what he's seen before and talk with people in the business, not just us founders, is a great attribute. But then he can also take that to the next level and bring that into our next investment rounds and talking to the next investors. Brendan's really a great advocate for our business because he knows so well the staff, our processes and what we do. So I think that's certainly one of the biggest superhuman skills.
That's great. So that was obviously a really positive view of the kind of relationship you have with Brendan, which is fantastic. But Brendan, I might ask you, as an advisor, it's kind of your job to find flaws in the company and point them out, right? And to guide people. So when have you had to have a tough conversation with maybe the founding team, maybe you've found something that you didn't like a direction of, has that ever happened?
I mean, to be honest, it hasn't really happened. I don't really advise Toledo on a day-to-day basis. And I mean, their execution has been pretty flawless up to this point as well. My main role is, really introducing them to investors for their next round. I've got a marketing background, so I might help out with, the marketing hires and doing due diligence on those guys. But yeah, it's interesting, like how involved startups want their angel investors to be. So at the end of the day, I want to find companies that, are a lot better at me at running startups. And, I found that in the Toledo guys, they've got all their processes hammered down. They've got a team of over 30 people now. I guess the thing that I've helped the most with was the introductions to investors and, helping with, we ran a syndicate with Eleanor Ventures that was led by Kylie Fraser. So, because I've known the Toledo founders and the team for over 12 months, I helped do the due diligence on that, write the deal note, bring other investors into that syndicate. And then to get more exposure to the US investors, we started a AngelList syndicate. So I co-syndicated that on my AngelList syndicate with some other US-based investors. And, now we have over 80 US investors, on the ground championing Toledo. And we also had the AngelList funds invest directly into Toledo, which was it's really quite rare. So that was a fantastic achievement as well for, a US-based VC, really is what they are, to, put that much faith in an Australian startup and made introductions for the Series B.
Nah, that's great. So Martin, Brendan just mentioned that as an investor, he doesn't come and advise on a day-to-day basis. He's a little bit more hands-off in that kind of bigger strategic picture. But what's that kind of like in terms of a workload? You have other investors, obviously, like Brendan mentioned, there's the syndicate. How do you manage your time with actually running the company and then meeting the demands of reporting and keeping your investors up to date with what's going on?
Yeah, I think for us, we're quite clear on our reporting structure and how we do report to our investors. So right from the start through a DD process, we'll make sure that fits. We'll make sure that we're not spending, I guess, too much time away from the business itself. That's certainly one point. But we keep it fairly open. We're lucky to have 3 founders in our company, so we can actually deal with, say, the day-to-day company issues as well as our investor issues, anything that goes along those lines. So we can spread definitely the amount of workload that we have across each of the founders. If something pops up, we're always happy to take calls. But we're also, as a business, one of our key values is communication. So as often as we can, we try to update all of our staff, our investors, where we are as a business and how things are tracking. So it's just about being open and honest all the time.
That's great. Brendan, you mentioned before that you have put investment into Toledo with their second round via a syndicate. Is syndicates a kind of your preferred way of investing? Is this one of your preferred mechanisms, or do you normally prefer to lead as an individual?
Yeah, so I have a mix of proprietary deals that I invest directly in and then syndicates as well. And syndicates are really a great way to get started. It's a great education. You can basically have an education in angel investing, reading deal notes that you get from different syndicate leads. And there's lots of advantages. The syndicate leads, they do the primary due diligence on every level. They might get 80 to 100 different people into a deal that are, sophisticated investors and that can add value. And it's, a lot of deals are hard to get into. So like the Toledo Series A, is a very small amount of people that could get into that. So by opening up to a syndicate, we were able to, reduce the minimum investment that people could make into Toledo, and B, actually get them into the deal because it was a super competitive round.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking about these rounds, Martin, Toledo was just in the Australian Financial Review yesterday for raising a $7.5 million round led by Investec. So maybe could you walk us through a little bit on how that experience of raising with a huge firm like Investec was, as opposed to perhaps your earlier rounds?
Yeah, I guess in any circumstance, going through a VC round over an angel round is much more labour intensive. The DD phase, there's a lot more lawyers in the room and a lot more time that passes to go through that. We're also dealing with different time zones through this process as well, like Brendan said, with investors across different parts of the globe. I think it's certainly when you go through one of these larger rounds, the time frame to actually close the deal, to discuss that with the investors and to actually finalise everything's a much longer process, and it's for good reason. But in a lot of aspects, it's all the same. It's all the same. It's just a much deeper process.
Yeah, that's true. Martin, I'm curious, do you have, obviously within your community, you probably know a range of other founders as well. Do you often recommend people within your community to approach Brendan for investment? Do you also advocate on his behalf in the same way that Brendan advocates on your behalf to these second and third round investors?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the way the relationship works. People say when you do have investors, it's a lot like a marriage, right? It's something that the communication goes both ways, and we do definitely push out Brendan's name as much as we can, because I think it's certainly something that makes startups succeed in any sense. If you've got the right support networks, be it internally or externally, you'll end up being successful. So Brendan's one of those, and definitely recommend him.
Great. Well, maybe one last piece of advice. Oh, sorry, Brendan, you go.
I was just going to say, fun fact, the average marriage length in Australia is now shorter than the average startup. It is a lot like a marriage. Being an angel investor, you're going to be there from the early days right through to ringing the bell on the NASDAQ. So it's definitely a long relationship.
For sure, and be there through the good times and the bad.
It's definitely one thing to always think about as on the startup side. A lot of investors are always great when everything's going really well. I think the times and what shows when you have the best investors is when something doesn't quite go to plan or something's not quite right, and the investor's still standing behind you and they understand and they're really helping you get through that phase. I think that's when you find out who the real good investors actually are. And that's why I guess that DD process, talking to other startups and other people, is so important from a startup perspective.
Totally, completely. Well, we have only a few more minutes left. I might actually use this time. Brendan, you and Martin are both featuring as part of the AGSM upcoming Angel Investor course, which is from November 18th to the 20th. You're both going to be part of that. Brendan, you're actually really curating the entire program, and Martin, you're coming in to tell a little bit more of the story and go into a little bit more depth. Maybe you could tell people about what they could expect with that course.
Definitely. So we're really trying to solve the problem of getting more angel investors into the early stage ecosystem. Because, at UNSW Founders, we've worked with over 1,200 startups. And the main question that we always get time and time again is, how do I get that first round of funding? So, we've done many things to, try and help the founders in this area. And one of the fantastic things that we did last year, we ran version 1 of the AGSM Investor course. So that's where we got 30 new angels into the ecosystem. These guys are making, real investments together now. We taught them how to build deal flow, do due diligence, maybe invest as part of a syndicate. So we're running a course 18th, 19th and 20th of November for a change. And, it's a fantastic opportunity to learn from, 22 of the best angel and VC investors in Australia. We've got some special international guests dialing in as well. And, I'll be doing a session with Martin where Martin will do, I haven't told Martin this, so Martin, this is hopefully what you'll be doing. You'll be doing your Toledo pitch, and, then you'll get 5-minute Q&A from the audience so they can get an idea about the company. And then, we kick you out of the room and sort of dissect the deal, why I invested, and, give them, a behind the scenes look of, how a real angel investor deal works.
That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. I was lucky enough to see the program last year, and it was just fantastic. I think, like you said, the mission of trying to increase the amount of capable angel investors in Australia is a really great one, and something that I'm sure you're going to lead a fantastic couple of days. So Brendan, Martin, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks SparkFest for having us. This is a great couple of weeks, and I hope you guys in the audience enjoy the rest of the sessions this afternoon. I know we're hearing a lot more on angel investing, so enjoy and see you later.
Thank you.